All right, we are recording and we are good to go. Good morning. Good morning. This is Chit Chat with Char, where our mission is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate meaningful relationships with people in our community. Today, I have the pleasure and the honor of speaking with Mr. Mylo Draven, who is a top producing loan officer with Cardinal Financial with a 100% approval rating. Without further ado, Mylo, come on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
How are you?
morning.
Hey.
Hey, so how's everything?
I mean, there's not a lot of people I would get up this early for, but you are for sure one of them. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we finally got to do this. I'm super excited.
Thank you. Thank you for making the time for me. So I talked a little bit in the introduction about you being a top producing loan officer in the DFW area. Yes. So talk to me a little bit about your company, what you do. How do you have a 100% approval rating?
It's called tips. I'm just kidding.
Well,
That's illegal. I'm not losing my license. So Cardinal Financial I've been there almost a year. I left wholesale to join retail because I wanted to expand my business and be able to help and reach more people. So it's just a bigger engine, bigger machinery behind me. Cardinal offers pretty much every product on the market. Rates are competitive, but most of my clients don't really shop rates. The realtors that refer people to me, and then the clients that refer people to me, they understand that you can walk into anywhere to save money, but you may not get the quality that you're really looking for. And quality comes at a cost. It's not that I'm outrageously the rates are out of control because I'm expensive to work with. There's just a cost of doing business. And ultimately, I guess the reason I have 100% approval is because I don't start a race I can't finish. I take my job super seriously. It's not a job. It is a life-changing moment at every loan. Every loan is my opportunity to bring somebody closer to their dream, to start generational wealth, to validate their journey. I help single mothers. I help single women. I help African-American, Hispanic. My people say, who's your client base? Anybody who wants to buy a house.
that's
I don't
good.
discriminate.
That's good. That's good. So, in your bio and in some of the write-ups that you provided to me as we were preparing for the show, you mentioned that you originally moved here. Where did you move from?
California, Los Angeles.
From California to be coached for bowling. Tell me a little bit about that. I was like, huh? Wait a
I
minute.
knew it was coming. So it's a short story, but I had a tiny addiction. I had a really bad breakup. I began using crystal meth. It's not a secret. Anybody who knows me knows. And it was about 9 months. It nearly killed me. And as I was recovering in sobriety, around the corner from my townhouse was a bowling center. And I grew up watching Wide World of Sports on Saturdays. And before Wide World of Sports would be the PBA tour. And because my grandfather was a bowler. And so I started bowling because my sleep pattern was messed up. It was a 24-hour bowling center. I would bowl literally all morning, 12 a.m. to like 6, go to sleep. I went from no average to 180, was working with a coach, and he, shout out to Brian Alpert. So Brian is one of two bowlers, professional bowlers, who has bowled an 800 series with his left and his right hand.
What?
Yeah, and he's a beautiful bowler to watch him bowl. But anyway, so I was working with Brian, and he said, you know what, take a break, keep doing what you're doing. I was bowling league like 4 nights a week because I don't like to practice. Honey, I always find another way. Like there's a way around it. And I thought, well, why am I taking a break? I want to bowl on, like a semi-professional level. I'm also a type A person. I don't, so I started searching for coaches, and I found Susie Minshew. she was in Texas. I emailed her. She responded in a short version. I would be honored if you're ever in Texas to work with you. I read that. I gave all of my clients, because I used to do hair, I gave all my clients a 30-day notice, packed up my townhouse and moved to Texas. And here I am 21 years later.
Wow. Wow. So from a hairstylist in California, 21 years you did that.
Well, here, so total 21 years.
Okay. Okay. To bowling to now a top producing loan officer.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. So you mentioned suffering and being addicted to crystal meth. So
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that journey and what led you to it. Was it just the breakup that kind of caused you to get there, or?
And you never know what. I think anybody who has an addiction wakes up one day and realizes, oh crap, I'm an addict, right? You don't start off. I was 32. I didn't ever think I was going to have a problem. I was crying constantly after this breakup. I had been the best version of me I could be. And I thought, if that wasn't good enough, now what? Like, I couldn't be any better than I was. And I was crying constantly. And I called a friend of mine and said, wherever you go, just call me, I'll drive. Because he was always going somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. And eventually there was a little baggie that popped out and he was like, here, have a little hit of this, have a little toot of that. One toot leads to two toots, leads to your own baggie, leads to your own dealer. It just snowballs. Mm-hmm. And at some point you realize you're in trouble. And I had a couple of, they call them sensory shutdowns. Your body starts to turn itself off, mm-hmm. so that it doesn't overheat and you don't die, basically. I had 2 of those, and the first one didn't faze me. I was like, well, I survived it. I'm fine.
Right.
And then the second one, I think, woke me up because it was worse. And I remember sitting around in this room with some friends, right? Some friends. And I thought, this is like, I don't want to be a vampire, right? Because you don't do drugs during the day. You wait till everybody's off work. I was working. You do them at night. And I just didn't want to live in the dark anymore, which is a complete metaphor, right? I mean, you're just in shadow, figuratively, literally. And I said, that's it. I literally got up and said, all right, bye. Like, where are you going? I said, I'm done. I'm out. And it was 2 months of torture getting sober. I was working out of my townhouse at the time. I would go down the stairs, work, crawl back upstairs, sleep, 18-hour days. And then I started bowling. And now I don't know how many years sober. It's just a journey. I'm super blessed. I'm very lucky that I got out alive, that I got out disease-free, that nothing really happened to me that is long-term other than, I'm a recovering addict forever.
Right, right. That's one of the things that I've come to learn and understand through talking to people is that once an addict, you're always an addict, and it's a day-by-day journey, trying to overcome every single day. And
yeah, some days are easier than others. Some days, like I would say in a 365-day year, there might be 10 days that I think, oh man, I'd like to, right? Or, oh, I don't want to deal with this, right? There's that fleeting thought, but I would say of the 365 days, there might be an hour out of the entire year where I feel like I really would like to, right, get high.
Yeah.
There's enough space and time from that iteration of who I was and that version of my life that I know there's no going back, and going back is a death sentence. I worked too hard to get this far to throw it away for 30 minutes of whatever, right? It's not worth it. It just isn't worth it. And I have friends, acquaintances that are still struggling with addiction. I mean, relapsing constantly, and I feel for them. And it's, everybody's journey is different. Everybody's damage is different. And I pray every night for everyone that I know. You know, part of my prayer is, and I pray for everybody that I know and I love and everyone I've ever come into contact that is struggling for their happiness and their peace. And I think it's important, try not to cry. It's important as a society that we stop stigmatizing people and start trying to understand and accept and support.
Right, right. The stigmatizing thing, you mentioned that. I think that part of the reason why that is sometimes we just don't understand it. And when we don't understand something versus trying to understand, we want to throw it away. I don't want to deal with it because I don't completely understand it.
Or you know, talk badly about, you know, put yourself in a you know, this situation. And I can't tell you how many times people say, oh, well, you have pretty teeth, you have a great smile. Okay. I mean, I get that a lot of people who, you know, have used meth lose their teeth, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, that's like someone saying, oh, can I touch your hair? No. Like,
no. Don't touch my hair.
It's not okay, right? People don't understand the ignorance and the insult a lot of times, right? And it's a tough situation to create boundaries when you're, you know, a woman of color, a man of color, a gay man, a recovering addict. Boundaries are not easy to establish because as a society, we're selfish. We think we can do and say whatever we want. Like, what, we have to wear a mask? No. I mean, you know,
yeah.
What, I can't be outside? No. You know, I mean, like, and that's not only not for our own individual good, but it's not for the good of the mass. So one of my friends laughs. He's like, you just don't judge. No, I don't. Because this glass house that I live in, honey, it's got 360 panoramic views.
Right.
And I be looking every day at everything. But I look and I'll talk about it, but I don't judge it because I've probably been anywhere and somewhere most people have gone or try to avoid.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for your candor, and I thank you for sharing that. I know that, you know, sometimes when you are dealing with things, it's hard to talk about some of the places that you've been or some of the things that you've had to go through. So I appreciate your candor and sharing that. And I really hope that if there is somebody out there watching or listening, that what you have to say and what you have said will help them to understand that they are not alone.
No, they aren't. And I'm going to cut you off. I'm sorry. And, you know,
no,
I think
okay.
you've seen them. You know, I do Mondays with Mylo and I do it live on Facebook. And part of Mondays with Mylo was really just about getting ready to do professional videos to get comfortable. And it turned into this whole different thing. And people will constantly, not constantly, but I get emails and messages a lot that say, thank you for covering that. I felt like you were talking to me tonight. I didn't know I was the only one, you know, wasn't the only one. So I think for me, because of where I've been, it's super important for me to be a voice. I don't know who hears it because not everybody will interact, but ultimately I don't want anyone to feel like they're alone. I don't want anyone to feel like they need to be ashamed of who they are, where they've been. We all have skeletons and none of us are perfect. So live your life, do the best you can. And, you know, sometimes we slip and just get back up. I mean, look, I've been battered and bruised, honey, and I'm still here. So we're tough and people just need to realize there's another side. On the other side of the darkness is a whole life you can't even imagine. Like I couldn't imagine the life I live now 15, 20 years ago. I wanted it, some version of this, but I couldn't have imagined this. So I'm super thankful. And you just got to plug away at it.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about your journey with mental illness. I know that I've seen several of your posts, your Facebook posts, where you have talked about it. Let's talk a little bit about mental illness.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what came first, the chicken or the egg. um, I was in a really dysfunctional marriage to a man, and when he was actually a bipolar drug addict, and when I got out of that relationship, I used his doctor, his psychiatrist, because she knew me through him, and she said, "You have struggled with depression your entire life, and
Mm.
I don't know if one of the ramifications or consequences of the using meth affected my mental state more, but I battle mental illness. I talk about it constantly, again, for the same, not constantly, but I talk about it openly because we don't talk about it. And it was a journey for me to even say, so I battle, with mental illness. I don't like to say I suffer from it because I'm not a victim. And for me, I call it the slide. There's a moment where something triggers me and sometimes I catch it and sometimes I don't. And then I realize I'm
Yes.
and it's like, and once you're sliding, it's hard, it takes a lot of energy to stop that and back, climb back up. There are days that I can't get out of bed. There are days I just look at my phone and I don't want to answer it. But those days are filled with battles of, you got to pick up the phone. People are depending on you. You've got to pay rent. You've got to, it's a struggle. And it was a struggle getting my mom to accept it, and my friends to understand it. All of my branch managers and mentors, former employers, they all know, because I don't function the same way most people do. And I will tell people, hey, today's not a great day. And they will, then they know, okay, hey, let me look out for him.
Right.
I talk to my therapist monthly. I'm on I always call it Trintellix, but I think it's called Trintellix. And I take a prescriptive dose of methylfolate, which I think is hilarious, right? No, it's not bad.
Right. Why would
Same
they even
prefix,
that,
different
right?
effect. It's basically a medicinal B12. It goes straight into your brain and like picks me up. And the Trintellix, for anybody who wants to know about Trintellix, there
Did
you
I
are. I
lose
don't
you
know what
there?
happened. Sorry, can you
That's
see me?
okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I disappeared. With the Trintellix, it creates serotonin and it lets your body regulate it, versus a lot of the other antidepressants that just regulate what you already have. I happen to be serotonin deficient, so my body regulates it, and the Trintellix helps create it, and it works for me. I've had a few friends and clients talk to their doctors about it. Look, I'm a big proponent of medication, but not being medicated. There's a
Right.
difference.
I understand.
And for me, that was part of my journey. I didn't want to be lethargic. I didn't, at one point, people would tell me, oh, you have a great attitude. I thought, well, damn, something's wrong. This isn't right. And so we adjusted the medication because I want to feel, right? I want to get upset. I want to be sad. I don't want to be depressed, but I want to feel things. And I think that's huge for everybody.
Right.
So yeah, Trintellix works for me. It's not for everybody, I'm sure, but it's made my journey and my struggles, my battle, a little easier for sure. And I think the more you accept who you are, the easier it becomes to deal with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you said that mom didn't understand or didn't accept it early on. What was
Yep.
that like?
It's tough because you don't, what do I say to you if you say, well, I don't believe in medication? Get off that. You don't need it. What's the rebuttal, right? You basically shut me down and there's nothing we can discuss. And I think for my mom specifically, it's fear, right?
Yeah.
There's a fear that her baby's not okay, that if she just pretends like it's not true, it'll go away. And I think the more she realized that I'm still me and that I'm good, right? That the medication wasn't changing me. I think it created a pathway for her to be more open and accepting. And it just made us closer because
And it
now
takes
I can talk to her
time.
about anything. I mean, I talked to her about anything anyway, but now I can talk to her about that without feeling like she doesn't want to hear it, or I can turn to her versus not turning to her, right? Because every kid needs their parent. I don't care how old you are.
Absolutely.
And I only have
Absolutely.
one. So
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about like where we are with mental illness, and how we are able to talk about it. I remember coming up and having uncles and aunts who we, you know, we all have a crazy uncle or crazy aunt in the family, and we don't understand what it is. And sometimes it's drug related. So I know for me, I always attributed any craziness to drugs. If there was something off, oh, it's those drugs. They just, you know,
yeah,
they should get off those drugs. They should really get off those drugs. But I think when I look at where we are right now, how we are talking about mental illness versus where it was before, because before we didn't even talk about it.
no,
It wasn't until, for me personally, it wasn't until, you know, a couple years back in 2015 when I learned of mental illness, like its true form, what it is, what it does, what's going on with it. You hear the term, or I heard the term coming up, but just never really understood it. And so I discounted it. And so I know our parents, you know, our grandparents, I know that they probably did the same thing. I think that
for
mental
sure.
illness has been around for a long, long time.
Well, and remember too, mental illness meant you were crazy,
That's
right?
right.
There was no sliding scale of mental illness. You were crazy or you weren't,
Right.
right?
Right.
Kids that were troubled kids were bad kids. They didn't have ADD or ADHD or because that didn't exist. Look, I'm 53. That didn't exist when I was a kid,
Right.
right? You were hyperactive. You just need to go burn off some energy, right? But
Right.
there wasn't anything associated with your mind. There was no dyslexia, right? So there's a lot of things that we just don't know about. And again, it goes back, right? We go back to you just have to try to be kind and understanding. If you don't, if it's something that you haven't ever seen, you got to try to work with it, not avoid it, right? Because that's not going to get you anywhere. Not any of us. And that's part of the problem, right? With homelessness, it's not that, yes, of course, it's that they're homeless, but now there's mental illness partially because of the drug use, partially because of the isolation, because of the malnutrition. I mean, it's a whole thing,
Yeah.
right? So we just have a lot of problems in the
We
world.
do, we do. But I think the underlying thing that we all have to come to grips with is that we're all human, right? And to your point earlier, we all have skeletons, we all have things that we have to deal with. What we can do is be understanding, be empathetic,
Yep,
you
that's it.
know,
I mean, you get so many people say, well, I'm a Christian. Look, if you have to tell me what you are, you're probably not that. Because I
that's
don't
a
have to tell
really good
anybody I'm gay. I
point.
don't tell anybody I'm Puerto Rican. You don't have to tell anybody you're African American. I don't tell anybody I'm kind or nice. Hi, I'm Mylo, I'm nice.
Right.
If you have to announce something, honey, you're not that person. I'm gonna need you to stop announcing it and start showing it.
Right.
Less talk, more action.
Less talk, more action. I love it. That is a tagline.
Okay,
Less
that's
talk,
a bumper sticker.
exactly. And more action. I love that. So let's transition a little bit. So
Yeah.
we have talked about so much in just 30 short minutes. What are you passionate about? Because I see you on Facebook, I see you doing different things, and oh my God, you are just so passionate. So what is it that you are just truly passionate about?
Life. I'm passionate about life. I mean, look, I love cake,
Me
honey.
too.
Look, if there's some good cake, I'm passionate about cake. Seriously, cake is love. But ultimately, I'm passionate about life. I'm passionate about the betterment of people, and that falls into so many different things, right? Like I believe in self-care. I believe in rewarding yourself, which is very different than self-care, right? Self-care is about internally feeding your soul and healing yourself. Rewarding yourself is about recognizing you did a good deed or a good job. Like you already know, I don't have a problem buying myself something. It's also because I worked hard. And I tell this to people all the time. If you're not your number one fan, you don't have one.
That's right.
And
That's
you
right.
can't expect a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a mother, a father. You can't expect them to put you in a position higher than themselves. And you can't fault somebody for that if they don't do it. You have to elevate and sustain yourself in the number one position because that's where you belong in your life.
Love
And
it.
then you create the boundary and you defend it. And that's where I think a lot of problems start with people, right? I'm not good enough. I shouldn't. We're all good enough to be number one. We may not be good enough to be number one in somebody else's life, but I'm good with being number two. Because anybody who steps into my life is not my number one. I'm number one.
That's right.
Right? They're my number one partner.
Yes.
But you're number two.
Right.
A close number two, because you know there's a little codependency and dysfunction in me. But I have a little
so
separation
silly.
anxiety. But I'm passionate about this year for 2022, one of the goals is I started it a couple years ago, but I'm getting back to it this year. Every deal I close, I will donate based on my client's desire to a charity. I will be giving back in a bigger way in 2022 because you can't just talk it, right? You can't talk the talk, you got to walk it. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do more acts of service, I think. And I think we all have time to do that. We just choose not to for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So that's my passion coming up. I think I've done a lot of work on myself. Now it's time for me to do some work on the world around me.
I love it. I love it. I do love the your goal to give back. That's what it's all about. You know, we have to have the heart to give back and to serve the world around us in whatever capacity we can. Now that may be monetary, that may be giving of your time, that may be giving of some talent or resource, but we have to give back. And I think that's the only way that we're going to be able to make a difference and an impact is by giving back.
It could be as simple as not throwing your straw wrapper on the ground, not throwing your mask on the ground. People don't realize that's pollution. So giving back to the world is as simple as not being a jerk.
Yeah. Right. Just be
take
kind.
Your cup
like
all the
you
way
said,
home.
Just be kind.
Yeah, take your cup all the way home or all the way to the garbage can. Like yesterday, we were getting out of the car, my friend and I said, get that cup. Well, where am I going to throw it? I said, in the garbage can over there. That's out of the way. Well, you ain't leaving it in my car.
Right.
It's just, we don't think about those little things make a huge, right? It's a ripple effect. It becomes a huge thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I have enjoyed this so much.
Me
Tell me
too. You're
about
great.
Miss Betty. So she has moved here from California, correct?
Yes, my mom moved here after, we'll say, 50 years in Los Angeles. She sold my grandparents' house that she lived in, sold the house, and moved to Texas in September officially. She is a Texan, and she's settling in nicely. It was a rough start, but she's venturing out more now. Like yesterday, she said, "Okay, well tomorrow I'm going to go do this, and then I need to start getting out." Like I said, "Yes, you do." Like I'm happy to drive her and be with her, but there's also, I think, part of her frustration and her adjustment is being independent, because she is independent, and it's hard when you move somewhere new to be that, right? And the next phase is making some friends, and but she's doing well. Um, there was no pressure by me to move. I basically said a couple years ago, I said, look, you're getting older, and if something happens to you, God forbid, I'm not putting it out there, but I can't get there quicker than maybe half a day.
Right.
And you have to take that in consideration. And I am the only child, and she just turned 74. So she made the choice to move, which I'm super thankful for. We have a long history. We didn't speak for 10 years. It was a rough road. My addiction had a lot of collateral damage, and it wasn't because I stole from her or any of that. It just, there was animosity on both sides as a result of the addiction, and how we both handled it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're Cuban, Puerto Rican, honey. We are Hispanic to the core, and people hold grudges, and we're sensitive, right? Passion comes with sensitivity, right? You feel things. And so it was a lot of wasted years, but we're back better than ever, and it's exciting.
That's awesome. Miss Betty is in her 70s. She is an amazing looking woman. She is a little firecracker.
She is 5 firecrackers.
I love it. I love it. So I'm sure that's awesome having mom closer to you. I'm so glad that you guys have been able to rekindle and restore your relationship, and just, getting through the addiction, and, like you said, the animosity that you had because you both handled it in a different way than maybe each of you thought it should have been handled. But I'm
For
glad
sure.
to
Look,
see
yeah,
that you
for
guys
sure.
are
People
back.
make mistakes.
It looks like I lost you again.
I'm
Are you
back.
back?
Sorry, I keep disappearing. Yeah, I mean, when it's all said and done, there's no manual on how to live your life, whether you're a parent or a child, just as a
Right.
person. And there's a saying, I'm sure I'm going to butcher it, but don't have expectations and you won't be disappointed. And I think we all have expectations of everybody and everything. And that's one of my mantras, as I finish this year and head into next, like, don't have expectations.
Yeah.
And once you sort of release that, then it's, you're in a better space. And
Right.
she and I are in a great space. We've had conversations that I never thought we would have. We're just so much closer than we ever were. So you hate that that's what it took, but I wouldn't change a day of my life, because it's where it got me to where I am now.
Yeah.
And I don't know that having it any easier would have been better, right? It's just because you don't know who you're going to be if your life is different. So I wouldn't change anything, honestly.
That's awesome. I mean, I just love your candor. I love your openness.
Thank
What
you.
about growing up as an only child? How about that? What was that like?
I mean, look, my mom always said she stopped at perfection, and
Oh,
I robbed her of everything. She said, "I gave you everything. I have nothing."
that sounds like something a mom would say.
Yeah. Growing up as an only child was interesting because you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't, I was also, with a single parent. I never missed having a father because I didn't know what having a father was like. Um, there were days that I wished I had a sibling because sometimes you're lonely. And before we went on cam, I told you when I was 4 or 5, every day for probably months, I would ask my mom for a twin. Mommy, I want a twin. Mommy, have a twin. Mommy, have a twin. And finally, one day, she just lost it. She's like, "I can't have a twin. You're so stupid."
Like, stop
And
asking
I
me.
was literally heartbroken because I thought two of me was going to be amazing. And I didn't want a brother or sister, honey. I wanted another me.
Right,
So
a
that should
clone,
tell
right,
you
a
exactly
twin.
what it's like being an only child.
That is hilarious.
I
That's
don't know where that
hilarious.
confidence went, but I'm on the road back to it.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yeah. So I think because of who my mom is and who my grandparents were, I wasn't spoiled. I didn't grow up getting everything I wanted. And I started working when I was 13 years old. I went to boarding school, I went to private school, but on scholarships. I had a conversation with somebody last month, and this person said to me, you live a very privileged life. And I think that I identify with the African American culture way more than you do.
Mm.
This is from a Caucasian.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So after I picked my jaw up off the floor and my mind brought me back to this reality that I was now in, this alternate universe, what I said to him was this: it doesn't matter what anybody says about color, because unless you're colorblind, I am a man of color.
Mm-hmm.
Every opportunity that I've had, I have not wasted. I have made mistakes for sure, and I have made my life more difficult than it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But we all have opportunity, and every opportunity leads to another opportunity. And if you do not maximize opportunity, you cannot cry, piss, or moan about somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ultimately, that's we're segueing. I'm sorry, this goes a whole nother way. But that's one of my problems with minorities in general. Everybody's minority. Like, I'm talking Caucasian, Asian, Pan-Asian, African American, Hispanic, Latin American. We all want to segregate. And we all want to complain about what we're not getting. Well, go get it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's not easy for me. Okay, well, it wasn't easy for me either. And it wasn't easy for anybody else. So pick up your bootstraps and get to stepping and do the work.
Right.
It's not easy being a broker of multiple, offices and hundreds of agents. It's not easy being a gay man of color in a predominantly Caucasian industry.
Yeah.
I'm not Black enough or Hispanic enough for the two cultures that I identify with the most.
Right.
And I'm sure as hell not white enough.
Yeah.
So where do I belong?
Right.
And if I focus on that, then I belong nowhere and I get nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I agree
So
with you. I think that we do put a lot of focus on a lot of different things that prevent us from being who we need to be or where we need to be, because there is a lot of focus on different areas. But I just think that the bottom line, the core of every single thing that we have to deal with is that we're all human. We're all human, and we all need to acknowledge that first, instead of color, race, what religion you identify with, all these classes and tags that we put on each other to, like you say, segregate or put each other in boxes.
yeah, it's
Let's
all
just
foolery.
deal with the fact that we are human. We all have goals and aspirations. And the very, very bottom line is that we all want the same things. If you start to peel back the layers, we all want the same thing. We want to be safe. We want to have security. We want to send our children to good schools. We want to be able to live in a neighborhood that we feel good and safe about. We all want the same things.
For sure.
So I think if we would work to lend a hand to lift each other up, to help each other to the next level, then some of the fights that we have, we wouldn't have. And I know that, this is a discussion that can go on and on and on. There's so many different layers to it.
Yes.
So many different things to deal with and talk about. We understand that. But the bottom line is that we're human and we have to work to take care of one another. And that's just the bottom line.
This is what I tell everybody. And I've said it many times. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or Allah or, whatever your thing is. We're all here, which means we all deserve and belong here, right? We belong, and we all should have the same things: love, happiness, peace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things, and full circle. This is probably a big reason why you do what you do. And it's the big passion behind what I do. I want every person who wants a home to have that home,
Mm-hmm.
to be in a safe space that is theirs, that is an investment. My mom says, your grandparents left me this house and they left me opportunity.
That's good.
That's it. This is the journey, and it doesn't matter. Look, I don't care what your skin color is, honestly. Are you a good person?
Yeah.
And you don't have to tell me if you're a good person. I will know within 30 seconds of you opening your mouth, you're a good person or not.
Right.
And you will prove to me one way or the other, right? You will solidify that impression within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And as you get older, honey, I give everybody the benefit, but if you show me who you are, like Maya Angelou said, right? Believe it the first time, for they will reveal it again and again.
Yeah.
People change when they want to, when they understand the need, but most people are who they are because they want to be that person.
Right.
So let them be. Look, be you, boo.
Yeah. Tell me about Miss Diva Kitty.
Oh, honey, I don't even know where she is. This cat has saved my life. I don't know if we talked about it on camera or not, but I had a really dysfunctional, horrific marriage. And I loved him, but he was an addict and he was bipolar. And it was 6 years of it was torture, honestly. And had I been in a healthier place, it may not have gone that way, right? But it is what it is. I got her after the breakup.
Okay.
And I got her at 6 weeks old. And I've never really had a pet for very long. She's now almost 7. She talks to me. I mean, I know I sound like a crazy person, but she talks. When I come home, she's at the door. She gets her treats 3 times a day, honey. And she's looking at me like, nope, 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 nope. I'm like, girl, it's not treat time.
Where's my treat?
Yeah, I mean, literally, now she goes to the door, to the pantry. If I go in the kitchen, I said, it is not treat time, Missy. She sits on the couch and watches TV with me. She has a heart-shaped bed on the nightstand, so she sleeps there. She is she's my sanity, honestly, because I'm single and I'm home alone. I get lonely, and there are times I think people who have pets, cats or dogs, I don't know about other pets, but your animals know. And she will look at me and she knows something's off. And she just gets a little closer. She sits on my lap. And I'm thankful that this cat she's in my life. She doesn't like to wear clothes. I'm working on that. I got her a little collar for Christmas. She looked like a Christmas clown. But she liked it because she has her collar always had has bells on them. So she was like, "What is this?" But it made the sound, so she was okay.
Okay.
I watched this guy on TikTok who has a cat that he walks his cat on a leash. So I'm getting ready to get her a leash to see if I can walk her.
I
She's
saw
nosy.
that this weekend and I was shocked. I saw a cat on a leash this weekend. I was like, is this? And it was so crazy because everybody, I was at the grocery store and I think everybody probably felt the same way that I did. Like, I've never seen that, number one. I've never seen a cat
Yeah.
on a leash. And then number two, why is this cat on a leash? I couldn't understand. I'm like, who does this? Who does
Hopefully not in
it?
the grocery store, because no cat should be in a grocery store or a dog. That's nasty.
Well, I mean, the guy was not inside the grocery store. He was actually looking at firewood and he was outside of the grocery store. But I think people coming in and out of the grocery store were just, they all, like, I took a picture of it. This one lady, she stopped, she turned around and looked, and then she turned around and started walking. Then she turned around and looked again, like, am I processing what I'm seeing? It was the oddest thing. So it's funny that you mentioned that. And I'm wondering how Miss Diva Kitty is gonna like a leash. I don't know about that.
Look, you will see it on face. I'm a face celebrity, honey. I like to put all my stuff out there. So she will. If she starts walking out, I will put it on Facebook, because I don't really want to walk her outside necessarily, but like in the hallways,
Right.
Just because she looks so sad sometimes when I leave, and she'd be walking to the door like, "Are we going?" I'm like, "You're not going anywhere." And I know she won't go in one of those backpacks.
Yeah.
The backpack with the bubble window.
Uh-huh.
She won't go in that. So I'm gonna see if she'll walk.
Because she's a diva kitty. Well, I'll be interested to see that.
Yes.
So we are getting really close to wrapping this up. I've
Now, don't break
enjoyed,
up with me.
I know, I've enjoyed talking with you. Again, I appreciate your candor, your honesty, and just being very open and transparent about some of the things that you've gone through and been through. So I appreciate you for sharing. Tell us, or if there is any word of advice that you would like to share with, and it may not be advice, just a statement, whatever is on your heart that you would like to share with your listeners and people that are viewing today.
I think the most valuable thing I can say to anybody is you're not alone. And no matter how down and out you feel, no matter how dark things are, there is a light and there is someone. You just have to reach for it. And it is hard when you are in the space of spiraling and darkness and discontent and sadness to believe that. But I need everyone who sees this, your people, my people, to know you're not alone. And I say this at the end of every Mondays with Mylo, right? Well, I won't say it now because I'll cry, but I think that's the important thing. People have to know you can't get help if you don't ask. And you will be okay if you ask. There will be somebody who will be the litmus, the spark for you to change your life. I had one person that changed my life. We're still super close. And I will say this, it is always for the kindness of strangers. Don't rely on the people that know you the best to help you, because they're the ones who are judging you, or they're scared of it because it's too close to what they're going through. So they're going to avoid you. It's going to be the people who don't know you that well who end up being your support system. And it's not a personal thing, right? It's just the way people are. And I have a really good friend who apologized after some stuff I went through. She said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know what to do. I just couldn't watch it." I said, "It's okay. It's okay." "No, I feel bad." I said, No, it's okay. Like, I'm past it. I get it. And I think that's when you're in a dark space, there's a lot of blame.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And you expect everybody else to know that you're sad or that you need this. it doesn't matter whether they know or not. You have to ask. And just because people are aware of that doesn't mean they can help you. And it doesn't mean they should. So when you're in a real rough spot, you've got to rely on yourself. And then you have to rely on faith and trust. I promise you, there's somebody out there that will help you. I'm living proof, honestly.
Yeah.
So I think that's my advice, right? Don't believe that you're alone.
I love it. I love it. How can people get a hold of you? How can they get in contact with you?
I mean, you can friend me on Facebook. There's only one Mylo Draven, honey. Mylo with a Y.
Mylo is Mylo.
Oh, Mylo. You can email me, like it's mylo.draven@cardinalfinancial.com. I think on my Facebook profile, my phone number's there. Look, you can Google me and literally I come up. Mondays with Mylo is on Facebook every Monday at 6:30 Central. I'm easy to find. Look, ask Charmaine ask Char how to get a hold of me, honey. She'll tell you. I mean, and I'm here for it. I'm here for conversations. I'm here loans, life, whatever.
I love it. I love it. The next time I see you, I want some cake. Okay. You posted some cake on your Facebook page, and I'm like, oh my God, I need that cake in my life.
Okay, I will bring you some for sure.
Yes.
My friend, the bakery, honey, her cake is everything.
Yes, it looks so good.
I have people who literally work with me because they want the cake.
Yeah.
And I had one client tell me, do I have to share the cake? I said, well, you're married. So she said, well, can you bring him cupcakes instead? So I brought her a cake and him a half a dozen chocolate cupcakes.
Wow. Wow. So that's some good cake.
I've had people cut the cake while they're at closing because they're hungry, they want it. Yeah, the cake is, I get text messages after, oh, this cake was great. Yeah, honey, look, you already know, I don't do anything, honey, half step.
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it all day. Well, we are going to wrap this up. Mylo, thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, I appreciate your candor. I appreciate everything that we've talked about today. And I really hope that somebody will be touched or moved by what you've had to share with us on today. And, this is what it's all about. This is the whole premise of Chit Chat with Char, is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate meaningful relationships while getting to know people on a deeper level. We see you, Mylo, on Facebook, and I'm sure that there are people that did not know that there were so many different levels to you and to who you are. So I appreciate you for sharing on today. This has been Chit Chat with Char, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in on today. And we look forward to seeing and talking to everyone on next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New